All right, so we got Carlos Alcaraz versus Casper Ruud in the Miami Open 2022 final. Miami is the stage of the next generation, and the next generation in Carlos Alcaraz is really showing out clearly. So in this video, I'm going to break down their matchup. I think a lot of people think that Carlos is the outright favorite, and he's just going to stomp Casper with the way that he's been playing and how much excitement and pizzazz there is around Carlos's game, which is all warranted. But I'm going to take some different looks at the matchup and ways that Casper can get into this match and win, and why we should probably put a little bit more respect on his name. So welcome to the slice, and let's get into it. So yeah, I'm here in Switzerland, Europe, if you haven't heard already, and I've been moving around and getting settled here. So I've been able to see some of the Miami Open, not as much as I would like, wearing a toque today. And once you start wearing a toque, you got to keep wearing a toque. That's just kind of like how it goes with hat hair. So this matchup is, if you at the beginning of the tournament, you told me this was the final, I'd be surprised. And if you told me that you predicted this now, I wouldn't believe you. But it's a great matchup because both these guys deserve to be here because they played unbelievable tennis this week, which is always the case when you have people in the final. Casper Ruud coming through Zverev, tough route to get to the final. And Carlos Alcaraz playing some just absolutely jaw-dropping tennis, taking out Hurkacz, the defending champ, in the semifinals in a tight match there. Could have gone either way, 2 tiebreak sets. And just playing great tennis this whole week. And the hype around him is just unbelievable. I might have to do another video if he wins, which I will, on why I think he's the most exciting player in tennis right now. Can you guys think of a more exciting player than Carlos Alcaraz? I'm talking more exciting than Nadal, Djokovic, anyone right now. And there's some reasons why. So if he wins this match, I'm going to make that video. Quick shout out, though, to our sponsor, Go Sport Premium Tennis Bags. They've been helping me with my travels here already in Europe, getting around. And as I head to Monte Carlo this week, take a look for me there. I'll be repping Go Sport, and they'll be what I'm carrying my camera gear around in and stuff like that. So shout out to them. Thanks for subscribing and liking the videos as always. So this is the matchup we got. We got Carlos Alcaraz, the fire-breathing dragon from Spain, who's just absolutely on top of the world right now with the way that he's playing, and Casper Ruud, the cool, calm, and collected Norwegian who is, been pigeonholed as a clay courter for his whole career. But now he's in his first Masters 1000 final, and it's on a hard court, on like a medium speed hard court in Miami. So these guys are shown out, and this is a huge match for Casper in his career. He's number 8 in the world, and I'm sure it's going to go up, maybe even one or two more spots if he wins. And for Carlos, there's been no downward blips in his career so far, which is one thing I'm going to talk about. Because when you look at Carlos Alcaraz, he's blasted onto the scene. We've known about him for a couple of years now. But really in this last 12 months, he's just played so well, showed that he's absolutely ready for the top of the game. And now he's at the top of the game. And his game is showing that it can compete with anyone in the tour, clearly. So going into this matchup, I think both players know that Carlos is the favorite. And I think he's the favorite to win this. And that's because, no offense to Casper, but Carlos does basically everything in tennis bigger and better than Casper does. That's not to say, though, that they're the exact same player and Carlos is just a better version of Casper, because they're not. Carlos is an aggressive player who likes to take it to his opponent, come forward, and play, out of his own words, like Federer, and play aggressive, and he likes a faster court. Casper Ruud's been a clay courter for most of his career. It's his favorite surface, and he's more of a counter puncher, can be a grinder on clay, but he's shown now with his adding more power to his game that he can obviously operate on all surfaces as he's in the Masters 1000 final now. So there's a difference there because Carlos is more of an aggressive player than Casper Ruud is, but that doesn't take away the fact that I still think Carlos does almost everything better than Casper does at this point. Again, no offense, Casper. So you might be thinking, how does Casper even have a chance to win this? Well, there's always a chance, obviously, but I don't think I think Carlos is the favorite. And my prediction is that he'll win, but I don't think it's as a sure thing as people think it, because there's a big question for me, and that is, how is Carlos going to handle the pressure? Now, pressure makes everyone play worse. It is no one's immune to it, not even Djokovic, as the Djokovic fans would say. We've all seen it affect our players in special ways. And one thing Carlos hasn't had a lot of so far in this pro tour career is pressure to win, pressure of being the favorite. We've seen all the guys that have blasted onto the scene lately in the last couple of years face it. Felix Auger-Aliassime, Stefanos Tsitsipas, like all these next gen players now are facing the pressure of being the guy. Daniil Medvedev, I've talked about that, tweeted about it lots. He's now, the favorite in most matches. He was probably the favorite in the Australian Open final. Look how that turned out. He wasn't the favorite going into the US Open final, and he was able to play better. So everyone's able to play better when there's no pressure. And so far, Carlos Alcaraz has had no pressure in his career. He's always been the underdog, and he's been like the new guy on the block. So I think that it's easier to just play your game and play the way that he does, which is just blasting the ball and playing super. He's not one-dimensional. I'm not saying that, but he's easier to go for those shots when you feel like you have nothing to lose. And that's classic just sports mentality right there. So that's the one question I have is how will Carlos handle the pressure of probably being the favorite in this match against a guy like Casper Ruud, who's already won 7 titles. And I was looking it up. I was trying to find an example. I don't think he's lost in a final. So let's put some respect on Casper's name. Is he going to be the ghost this weekend? I don't think so. I think he's going to show up and he's really going to go for it and believe that he can win because he's number 8 in the world. So let's be real against that. A huge thing for Casper Ruud is, I think, going to be, as he's a less aggressive player than Carlos, you can't just let Carlos smash from inside the baseline and try and just hope that he misses. That's not going to work, obviously, and Casper knows that. So Casper is going to want to try and defend his serve well and have a great serving day. That's classic. You need that in tennis. But a good point from the Casper Ruud match or the Carlos Hurkacz match is that I saw on Twitter, I think from Gil Gross, that Carlos's serves that got returned was like almost all of them, like a high percent, like 85% of the serves that he served came back and he still won the match. And then Hurkacz had like a much lower, it's like closer to 50%, I think. So it shows that the serve is not as important for Carlos, but I think it will be more important for Ruud because if he gets broken, it's just, you don't want to get behind when Carlos is such a good power player, front runner, etc. So Casper is going to have to stay on top of his serve, and then he's going to have to find ways to make Carlos miss. That gets deep. How do we do that? I don't know. Carlos is so good at every part of the game: forehand, backhand, coming to the net, lobbing. You got to think that Casper is going to do, or going to have to do, things to make Carlos uncomfortable. That might be slicing to parts of the court where Carlos can't really just tee off on it. That might be bringing Carlos forward when he doesn't want to come forward. But some way Casper is going to have to find how to play on the front foot and make Carlos uncomfortable. And then Carlos is going to have to just not get tight in the big moment, which I haven't seen. I'm trying to think back. I haven't seen a match where Carlos has been in the driver's seat, should win, and then just plays bad and loses. He seems to be always the guy coming out and playing best and causing the upset. If Casper were to win this, especially if Carlos ever got to a winning position, there'd be pressure for Carlos to close it out. And we'd really see now how he handles this pressure of being a favorite, being in a position to close out a Masters 1000 tournament, a huge tournament for him. I think he would probably go to like almost the top 10 if he wins. So there's going to be pressure for Carlos. How is he going to handle it? That's an advantage for Casper, I think, because Casper has been in this type of position, not in the Masters 1000 final, but in just more finals. He's won more tournaments than Carlos. He's also been on tour for longer. So I think Casper will back himself when it comes to the nerve. And I think Carlos will back himself when it comes to the game. So how's that going to play out? I predict Carlos winning in 3 sets, though. I think it'll be tight, and I think it'll be a good match. And there's definitely ways that Casper can hurt Carlos, but there's a lot more that Carlos can do to hurt Casper. And I think we will see that. And it's just going to be electric because Carlos is electric. The way he pumps up the crowd, the way he's dramatic, got the Spanish flair. Absolutely love it. So my prediction is Carlos in 3. Let me know your thoughts on the match and on my breakdown. Shout out to Go Sport for sponsoring the slice. And the next time we will see you is maybe before Monte Carlo, but also in Monte Carlo. So make sure you subscribe, like the videos, and get around us on Instagram and Twitter as we travel through Europe, bringing you guys the slice from the ground. Thanks for being here, guys. We'll see you very